With the aid of the Force, beings were capable of incredible feats, from banishing the dark with a wall of light to creating powerful whirlwinds of kinetic energy. Despite the near endless assortment of offensive abilities at their disposal, however, our pick for one of the most remarkable powers has to go to Force Healing, the underrated but incredible power that could heal wounds, cure poison, and, in extreme cases, bring the dead back to life. But how did this rarely seen Force power work? In this video, we'll be exploring how Force Healing worked using both canon and legend sources. A trigger warning for those who dislike the newer Star Wars movies. We'll be making several references to the sequel trilogy. Please remember to try and keep discussion civil in the comments section below. With that, let's take a look at how Star Wars deals with the quintessential concept of healing magic.
Attention, Sergeant on deck!
At its true core, Force Healing was a selfless gift of life, quite literally. We've spoken before about how the Force existed within all living beings, connecting them through the living Force to one another. These connections formed an intricate, infinite network of life spanning the entire galaxy. In their service to the Force, Jedi strived to support these bonds, to strengthen them, and to help grow and prosper. Darkside users, on the other hand, used the dark side to exploit these bonds for their own gain. Force Healing, or Cure as it was otherwise known, was a light-sided force power that used those connections between living beings to support life. It could accelerate the natural healing process of an organism, nurturing flesh to knit together and seal wounds. It could cleanse the effects of poison or even treat exhaustion. In that sense, Force Healing had similar effects to outside healing agents such as Bacta. Instead of microorganisms, however, the way Force Heal worked was by selflessly giving the gift of life from the user to the target. To cast Force Heal, the user had to bring forward their own life force, the energy residing within their body that gave them life, and channel it through the bonds connecting each living being to their target. This life energy would then support the healing process in their target's body. With an outside energy source being provided, the body could accelerate healing far beyond the natural pace. Additionally, energy transfers could cure the symptoms of exhaustion. Naturally, giving their target their own life energy weakened the user themselves. In most cases, this energy could be recovered by resting, eating, and meditating. In extreme cases of healing, however, if the user gave too much of their life force, they could perish while saving another. The sequels gives us an example of such a self-sacrifice. Force dyads, we're told, a pair of Force presences intricately connected in the Force, were able to transfer energy to one another. Due to how strong their connection was, they were able to give their counterpart all of their life energy, sacrificing themselves so that the other might live. Legends tells us that, at its basic levels, initiate Force healers had to meditate in order to cast Cure. With practice, however, healers were able to cast Cure on the go and increase their regenerative capacities. Initiates were more limited in what they could achieve, mostly healing surface wounds, but masters could go far beyond, knitting flesh and bone, healing internal organ damage, and even restoring necrosed tissue. Alongside its basic application, Force Heal had 3 additional variations. There was Force Purification, which dealt with poison, and Force Assist, which allowed users to heal living beings other than themselves. A final variation was outlined in the Chronicles of Bruce Boo, an ancient Jedi chronicle. The text described an application of Force Healing that was used to heal a damaged Kyber crystal, a feat that was otherwise impossible. Once more, we see this happen in the sequels, where Rey uses the technique to heal Anakin Skywalker's fractured lightsaber crystal. Unlike what Star Wars video games may have led you to believe, Force Heal was a very rare ability, with only a handful of known practitioners over the years. It took years to master, and the energy cost made it less practical in certain situations. Another factor to consider was that, despite it accelerating natural healing, it wasn't always faster than external aids like Bacta. Thus, there were many instances when relying on modern medicine was better than going the arcane route. That said, those of you familiar with how the dark side generally worked are probably already guessing there was an alternate side to force healing. Unfortunately, you'd be correct. At its core, force healing was the true embodiment of selfless sacrifice, giving one's life force to save another, and a true manifestation of the Jedi ideology. And then, as they do, the Sith found a way to exploit it. From the moment we mentioned that force healing could be the difference between life and death, alarm bells should have begun ringing. Those familiar with our videos on the dark side already know that, at their core, dark side users only really cared about one of two things: eternal life and unlimited power. Sometimes both. To a darksider, the principles of force healing were anathema, but once twisted, they could serve their own selfish goals of prolonging their own life at others' expense. Earlier, we explained how, through strengthening the bonds between living beings, Jedi could gift their own life force to save others. Darksiders took these blueprints to reverse engineer some terrible force powers. The most important dark side variation of force healing that emerged from millennia of force healers falling to the dark side was force drain. Whereas force heal worked by selflessly giving one's life energy to another, force drain did the opposite. Through exploitation of the bonds that connected living beings, force drain users latched onto the energy in other living creatures and stole it for themselves to overcome injury or exhaustion. Once more, we see this done in the sequels, when Darth Sidious drained the life energy from both Ben Solo and Rey to restore himself and heal what darkside corruption had done to his body. Over the millennia, many Force users had made a name for themselves as notable Jedi healers. Jedi Master Stas Ali was one such Jedi. During the Clone Wars, she was the overseer of the Jedi Order's medical corps. Padawan Barriss Offee was also one of the most renowned Jedi healers, garnering a reputation for herself during the Clone Wars for her swift recovery of all Jedi injured during the First Battle of Geonosis, as well as bringing clones back from the brink of death on Null, New Holstis, Drongar, and many other worlds. Master Yoda was said to be so skilled in the power, he could heal himself and everyone in his vicinity by simply waving a hand, and even Obi-Wan Kenobi could use the skill by the end of his life. And that was just the tip of the iceberg. So you may be wondering, how can we claim the power was rare when so many beings were known to actually use it? It seems everyone from Anakin Skywalker to Mitra Surik to Rey could use Force Heal. So why do we and the sources claim it's rare? The answer is potentially threefold. The main reason is that, while the base ability itself wasn't exceedingly rare, mastering it was, and that's where Force Healing gets its rare reputation from. As we mentioned earlier, there was a significant skill gap between initiates and masters in the ability. While there were many Force Healing initiates in the medical corps, initiates who could sit, meditate, and deal with superficial injuries, the truly advanced practitioners who could cast it on the go and deal with far more devastating injuries were few and far between. The second likely reason is that, due to healing being seen as an essential ability, it's overrepresented in media. We might be seeing dozens of very skilled practitioners, but those dozens are still a drop in the ocean of Force users. This creates an artificial sense of commonality, but in reality, it's still a rare ability that not many users had. One final factor is that, due to Star Wars' selective focus on key protagonists, those few characters gain an unfair advantage compared to the average Jedi. To begin with, protagonists are given rare abilities to justify them being in the spotlight. After that, the amount of screen time they receive allows them to grow and acquire even more powers as they develop. In this sense, it isn't just Force healing that's common. Star Wars just focuses on special Jedi who are more likely to acquire rare skills over time. So what do you think about this rare but extremely useful Force power? Are there any other Force powers you'd like us to focus on? Let us know all that and more in the comment section below. And as always guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.